The alien queen married a human for peace, then watched his power shake the stars. For centuries, humans had explored the stars, slowly expanding their influence, while the Scifi, an advanced alien race, controlled vast regions of space with sharp precision and unmatched technology. Conflicts had erupted at the edges of both empires, and tensions simmered like molten metal, waiting to erupt. In the center of the Scifi domain floated the capital fortress, Xelaris, a massive structure shaped like a crystal star, glowing faintly in the dark void. Its walls pulsed with energy, and ships of countless designs hovered around it like bees circling a hive. Within its highest tower sat Queen Lyra Xyrathi, ruler of the Xyrathi people, a figure both feared and revered across the galaxy. Her long, silver hair shimmered like starlight, and her eyes glowed with a faint violet hue, a mark of her species' power. She had led her people through countless conflicts, always choosing strategy over rash action. Yet now, faced with the growing human influence, even she felt the weight of uncertainty. On Earth, far from Xelaris, humans debated the possibility of an alliance with the Xyrathi. The Galactic Council, a body representing multiple human colonies, had sent their best diplomat and strategist, Elias Kale, to the negotiations. Elias was known for his intelligence, calm demeanor, and ability to make even the most stubborn leaders listen. He had studied alien cultures, war strategies, and diplomacy for decades, but nothing in his training prepared him for what awaited in the heart of the Xyrathi Empire. When Elia's ship approached Xelaris, its enormous size made him pause. The fortress seemed alive, as though it had its own consciousness, watching every movement. His ship docked at the central port, where Xyrathi guards examined him carefully. The humans and Xyrathi had met before, but this was the first time a human ambassador would enter the Queen's personal chambers. The doors opened, and Elias stepped into a room that seemed to stretch for miles. The walls sparkled with energy patterns, shifting like water under moonlight. Standing at the far end was Queen Lyra herself, her presence commanding the room as if gravity bent toward her. "Welcome, human," she said, her voice calm but firm, echoing slightly in the high-ceilinged chamber. "You travel far to speak of peace. Speak, I am listening." Elias bowed slightly. "Your Majesty, I come representing the Council and all of humanity. We seek a treaty, peace between our species, before conflict destroys what both our civilizations have built." Lyra raised an eyebrow, tilting her head in curiosity. "Peace is a fragile thing, human, and your species, humans, are unpredictable. Tell me, why should I trust your words?" Elias did not hesitate. "Because the alternative is war, and neither of us will survive another prolonged conflict. We have weapons, yes, but more importantly, we have minds that learn, adapt, and cooperate. There is potential in partnership that war cannot create." The Queen studied him for a long moment. Elias could feel her gaze probing every thought, every memory. The air between them was tense, heavy with unspoken challenges. Then she spoke again, her voice softer, almost thoughtful. "Perhaps a union could secure this peace. Not a simple treaty, but something stronger, a bond that ties our peoples together." Elias' heart skipped a beat. The meaning was clear. In Xyrathi culture, this was more than diplomacy. It was a political marriage, a bond that would unite not just two leaders but two entire civilizations. "Your Majesty, I would serve our peoples in whatever way you deem necessary." His words were careful, respectful, but he could not hide the weight of the proposal. Lyra studied him once more, then spoke in a tone that was both regal and commanding. "Then it shall be done. You will marry me, not for love, but for peace." The following days were a blur for Elias. The preparations for the union were unlike anything he had ever seen. The Xyrathi celebrated in ways humans could hardly imagine. Crystal halls that reflected infinite light, rituals that traced the movement of stars, and chants that resonated in his chest like a distant heartbeat. Through it all, the queen remained poised, always watching, always calculating. Elias learned quickly that marriage in this context was not personal but strategic. Their interactions were formal, measured, and careful. Yet as days turned into weeks, subtle changes began to emerge. Lyra observed how Elias moved, how he spoke to her people, and how he handled even the smallest disagreements with calm intelligence. Humans were fragile, yes, but they possessed a resilience that the Scifi often overlooked. One evening, as Elias walked through the corridors of Zelaris, he witnessed a training session in the courtyard. Scifi warriors, tall and elegant, practiced with weapons that could slice through metal and energy shields that bent light. He noticed how they moved as one, perfectly synchronized, a society built for efficiency and power. Yet he also noticed something else, a lack of flexibility, a rigidity that could become a weakness. He made mental notes, understanding that his own humanity might offer a different kind of strength. Lyra approached silently, her footsteps soundless on the glowing floor. "You watch closely, human. Do you learn quickly?" she asked. "I try to understand," Elias replied. "Not just the weapons or tactics, but the people. Strength comes not only from power, but from how it is used." The queen tilted her head, intrigued. "Perhaps you are different from what I expected." Their days together became a careful dance. Elias attended council meetings, observed training drills, and participated in rituals. The Scifi were suspicious, their loyalty deeply tied to the queen, and many watched him with quiet skepticism. But through it all, Elias maintained his composure. His human determination, his ability to adapt, and his willingness to learn impressed even the most cynical observers. One night, while walking alone in the observation deck of the fortress, Elias gazed at the stars. Millions of them stretched across the black void, each one a sun with its own worlds, its own possibilities. He wondered about the path ahead, the responsibilities he now carried, the delicate balance between peace and war, and the queen who watched him with a mixture of caution and curiosity. Lyra appeared beside him, her presence as commanding in silence as it was in speech. "Do you understand what this marriage means, human?" she asked. "I understand it is not for me, but for both our peoples," Elias said. "I also understand that peace is not given, it is earned, protected, and maintained." The queen did not answer immediately. Instead, she watched him as the stars reflected in her eyes. Perhaps she saw something in him, a spark of ingenuity, courage, and unpredictability that could change the course of history. Perhaps she wondered if humans were truly as fragile as she had once believed. Days turned into weeks, and the political marriage became official. It was celebrated across the Scifi Empire, broadcast to humans and aliens alike. The ceremony was magnificent, energy fields forming delicate patterns above them, chants echoing across vast halls, and light bending in impossible ways. Yet, beneath the grandeur, both knew the true challenge had only just begun. In the privacy of the queen's chambers, Lyra spoke for the first time without the formalities. "Human, do you fear what comes next? The expectations, the scrutiny, the burden of keeping peace?" Elias looked at her, steady and calm. "Fear is a luxury I cannot afford. I have responsibility and I will meet it." A small, almost imperceptible smile touched her lips. The queen, who had always relied on intellect and strength, realized something startling. This human might offer something more than treaties or strategies. He might offer the spark of something the galaxy had never seen, a bridge between species, a force capable of reshaping the stars themselves. And so their alliance began, not with passion or friendship, but with respect, curiosity, and a shared desire for a fragile peace. Both understood that the galaxy watched them, that their actions would ripple across worlds, and that every decision carried weight beyond imagination. The first part of their journey had begun. A human and an alien queen, bound by duty, standing together at the edge of the stars. Neither fully trusted the other, yet both recognized the potential in their union. And as the galaxy waited, unseen forces began to stir, hinting that this alliance would be tested in ways neither could yet imagine. Elias looked out at the stars once more, feeling both small and infinite at the same time. Somewhere far across the void, destinies were converging. He did not yet know the full extent of his role, but one thing was certain. The galaxy was about to witness something extraordinary. And the Queen, watching him, began to understand that peace might not be built solely on treaties or force, but on the strength, courage, and ingenuity of one human who dared to reach for the stars. The first weeks of the alliance had passed, and the initial formalities of the political marriage were settling into a cautious rhythm. Elias Kale had begun to navigate life within the Zyrathi capital, Zalaris, with a growing sense of understanding and awareness. The Queen's people were watching him closely, their expressions unreadable, their movements precise. Every glance, every gesture seemed calculated. Elias knew he could not afford mistakes, not when the peace of entire civilizations rested on his actions. Yet he also began to notice something remarkable. The Zyrathi, for all their intelligence and advanced technology, lacked the kind of creative flexibility that humans often took for granted. They followed patterns, rules, and protocols with perfect precision, but when faced with unpredictable situations, hesitation crept in. Elias realized that human unpredictability might become a strength, and he quietly began to explore it. One morning, the Queen summoned him to the central observatory. The room was enormous, its domed ceiling transparent, revealing the endless expanse of stars. Floating holographic maps displayed dozens of nearby star systems, their resources, populations, and political alignments meticulously recorded. Elias, Lyra began, her voice steady but tinged with curiosity, you have been observing my people for some time now. What is your opinion? Elias walked slowly along the observation platform, studying the holograms. Your people are extraordinary. Their discipline, their technology, their ability to maintain order across such a vast empire, it is impressive. He paused, choosing his next words carefully. But there is rigidity. A system can only work if it adapts. Sometimes the unexpected is a weakness. Sometimes it is an opportunity. Lyra's violet eyes narrowed slightly. She had heard humans speak of opportunity before, but the word often carried a naive undertone. And you believe humans provide what my people lack? I do, Elias said firmly. Humans are adaptable. We improvise, we learn quickly from failure, that is our strength, and it can be an advantage to you if you allow it. The Queen considered him for a long moment. Finally, she nodded. Very well, I will observe your methods. Show me how your people think. Over the next few days, Elias began to explore the hidden corners of Zalaris. The fortress was filled with wonders, energy chambers that could power entire cities, data cores that contained histories of civilizations older than Earth, and laboratories where alien scientists experimented with forces beyond human comprehension. Most humans would have been overwhelmed. Elias, however, approached each discovery with quiet curiosity, asking questions, seeking understanding. One afternoon, he entered the Strategic Simulation Hall, a room where the Zyrathi tested battle scenarios with holographic fleets. Entire star systems could be simulated, and the Queen's advisors could manipulate outcomes with near-perfect precision. Elias watched a simulation of a human colony being attacked by pirates. The Zyrathi advisors executed every defense flawlessly, but the scenario ended with the colony in ruins. What went wrong? Elias asked. One of the advisors, a tall Zyrathi with translucent skin that glimmered in the light, responded calmly. Nothing. The simulation accounts for all variables. The outcome is statistically certain. Elias shook his head. But in reality, nothing is certain. Humans do not always follow predictable patterns. They improvise, they take risks. That is why even a small force can survive against larger, better prepared opponents. Lyra, observing silently from above, raised a hand. Explain yourself, human. Elias smiled slightly. Give me control of this scenario. Let me show you. The Zyrathi advisors exchanged skeptical glances, but Lyra nodded. Elias stepped onto the platform and activated the simulation interface. He made small, unexpected changes, redirecting supply ships in unorthodox ways, using decoy signals, and instructing the colony's defenders to act unpredictably. At first, the holograms flickered in confusion, the advisors murmuring at his unconventional decisions. But then, slowly, the tide of the battle shifted. The colony's defenders, following Elias' guidance, began to survive attacks that had previously destroyed them. The holographic fleets faltered, the attackers confused and outmaneuvered. By the end of the simulation, the colony was secure and the advisors looked stunned. Lyra's violet eyes widened slightly. Impressive. You think differently. Elias shrugged modestly. I only use what humans do naturally: adaptation, risk-taking, creativity. You have strength and precision. I bring unpredictability. Together, the results can be extraordinary. The queen remained silent for a moment, her mind racing. For the first time, she wondered if this human could truly offer something beyond diplomacy, something her people had never possessed. That evening, she invited Elias to the private gardens of Zelaris. The gardens floated in zero gravity, with glowing plants suspended like stars. Small streams of energy flowed gently through them, and the air shimmered with faint, warm light. You have intrigued me, human, Lyra said softly. Not because of your strategies or your intellect, but because of your mind. It works differently from mine, from my people's. You see possibilities where we see obstacles. Elias looked around the gardens, taking a deep breath. Thank you, your majesty, but I do not seek to impress. I seek to contribute, to build something lasting between our peoples. Lyra nodded slowly, her expression thoughtful. There is potential in humans, I see that now. But potential alone does not secure peace. It must be guided, controlled, and proven. Over the next several weeks, Elias began to engage with the Zyrathi in ways that surprised even the queen. He studied their history, learning about old conflicts, lost technologies, and cultural values. He attended training sessions with the Zyrathi warriors, not to fight them, but to understand their logic and their discipline. He observed their scientists, learning the basics of energy manipulation and advanced navigation systems. And he questioned everything, challenging assumptions respectfully, always seeking new approaches. One day, a crisis arose. A cargo ship carrying essential supplies to a distant colony went missing. Standard Zyrathi protocol dictated that the ship was likely lost to space hazards and that resources should be redirected to other systems. The advisors accepted this conclusion without question. Elias disagreed. We cannot assume loss without investigation. Humans have a saying, hope is not a strategy, but it guides action. We must search. Lyra's advisors frowned. Human, it is impossible to locate the ship. The area is vast and the hazards are unpredictable. Elias smiled faintly. Then we must be unpredictable too. Use your sensors in ways they are not designed. Try angles your calculations would not suggest. Trust not just numbers but initiative. Reluctantly, the advisors followed his suggestions. Using unconventional scanning patterns and adjusting energy signatures, they located the missing cargo ship, trapped near a small asteroid field. The rescue was executed flawlessly, and the supplies were saved. The advisors exchanged astonished glances, and even Lyra allowed a small, approving nod. Perhaps, human ingenuity is more valuable than I imagined, she said quietly to herself. The more time Elias spent within Zelaris, the more he realized that the Queen's people were not unfeeling or cruel. They were simply shaped by millennia of precision and order. Humans, by contrast, thrived in chaos, uncertainty, and improvisation. Where the Xyrathi saw limitations, Elias saw opportunity. And as he demonstrated these abilities, the Queen began to see him not merely as an ally or a tool of diplomacy, but as a mind capable of reshaping outcomes on a galactic scale. One evening, as the two walked together in the observation chamber, Lyra finally spoke. Elias, I have watched your actions closely. You approach problems in ways that defy convention. You see possibilities where we see impossibilities. Tell me, do you understand the power this gives you? Elias looked at her, his eyes calm but determined. I understand responsibility. I understand that every decision affects millions. I do not seek power for myself, but I seek results. If that is power, then yes, I understand it. Lyra studied him, the corners of her mouth lifting slightly in a gesture almost like a smile. Then you may be the key to peace. Not treaties, not fleets, not weapons, but your mind, your choices, your ability to act where others hesitate. For the first time, Elias felt a deeper connection with the Queen, not personal, not emotional, but a recognition of shared purpose. Together, they represented more than two individuals. They represented a new possibility for the galaxy. And in that moment, he understood that this alliance, fragile as it was, could change the course of history. As the stars outside the observation chamber shimmered, Elias felt a quiet excitement. The challenges ahead would be great, the obstacles formidable. Yet with his ingenuity and the Queen's authority, he could create outcomes that neither humans nor Xyrathi had imagined. And the galaxy, vast and waiting, would soon witness the spark of something extraordinary. The calm that had settled over Xylaris was fragile, a thin layer of glass over the vast, unpredictable void of space. For weeks, Elias Kale had proven his value, earning a cautious respect from the Queen and her advisors. Yet beneath the surface, a storm brewed. Not all Xyrathi supported the alliance with humans. Some saw the marriage as a dangerous compromise, a surrender of their autonomy and power. Whispers circulated among the elite factions, secret meetings in hidden chambers, hushed conversations in dark corridors. They called themselves the Obsidian Circle, an ancient faction dedicated to preserving the purity and dominance of the Xyrathi race. Elias sensed the tension, even if he did not yet know the full scope of the threat. Small anomalies appeared, misdirected messages, unexplained security breaches, and unusual troop movements. The advisors dismissed these as routine errors, but Elias' instincts told him otherwise. He had learned to trust intuition, and the feeling in his gut was clear. Someone was plotting against them. One evening, the Queen summoned him to her private chambers. The room was calm, filled with the soft hum of energy flowing through the walls, but her expression was tense. Elias, she said, her voice unusually sharp, I have sensed disturbances within my court. Not all my people are satisfied with this alliance. I need your assessment. Elias nodded. Your Majesty, I believe there is an organized effort to undermine the peace. The incidents you've noticed, they are not random. Someone is testing our defenses, probing for weaknesses. Lyra's eyes narrowed. You believe it is a faction within the Xyrathi? Yes, Elias said. I do. And if they are allowed to continue, the consequences could be catastrophic, not just for our alliance, but for the entire galaxy. The Queen was silent for a moment, weighing his words. Then she spoke, her tone steady but resolute. Very well, human. You will lead the investigation, discreetly. If you succeed, you may prevent war before it begins. Elias accepted the responsibility. It was dangerous. Many would see a human interfering in internal Xyrathi politics as an act of disrespect or even treason. But he understood the stakes. Peace was fragile, and waiting for events to unfold was not an option. He began by studying patterns of activity within Xylaris. He noted unusual access codes being used at odd hours, subtle changes in patrol routes, and advisors who avoided his presence. Using both human intuition and careful observation, he began to piece together the network of the Obsidian Circle. One night, while monitoring security logs in a hidden chamber, Elias discovered an encrypted communication channel. Messages were being sent between high-ranking Xyrathi officials, plans to sabotage the Alliance and destabilize nearby human colonies. It was bold, dangerous, and shocking. He brought the evidence to Lyra. "Your Majesty, these messages are proof of a conspiracy. The Obsidian Circle plans to undermine peace through sabotage. We must act before they strike." Lyra studied the transmissions, her expression unreadable. After a long pause, she said, "You have done well, Elias. Now we must plan carefully. Confrontation must be precise. Too much force will ignite the very war we seek to avoid." Together, they devised a strategy. Elias suggested using misinformation and controlled exposure to flush out the conspirators. The Queen agreed, trusting his judgment despite the risks. The first test came quickly. A transport fleet carrying essential supplies to a human colony was reported missing. The Xyrathi advisors were ready to declare it lost, but Elias suspected interference. He traced the fleet's route, analyzing energy signatures, and detected a hidden Xyrathi squadron lying in wait near a remote asteroid field. "This is the Obsidian Circle at work," Elias said calmly. "They want to provoke a response, create chaos, and make the humans appear weak." Lyra nodded. "Then we will show them that weakness is not human nature." Using a combination of human improvisation and Xyrathi technology, Elias orchestrated a countermeasure. Small decoy ships lured the hidden squadron into a trap, while hidden patrols moved silently to intercept the attackers. The operation required precise timing and coordination, yet Elias' plan worked flawlessly. The supply fleet was protected, the Obsidian operatives were exposed, and the incident strengthened the trust between humans and the Queen's loyalists. But victory did not come without cost. The Obsidian Circle, humiliated and enraged, escalated their efforts. More attacks followed, smaller, subtler, designed to create confusion and mistrust. Ships went missing, communication channels were sabotaged, and even minor skirmishes were manipulated to look like human errors. Elias faced each challenge with careful calculation. He adapted quickly, combining human intuition with alien technology, outmaneuvering every attempt at disruption. And through it all, Lyra watched, her respect for him growing with every success. One evening, after a particularly tense day of counterintelligence operations, the Queen approached Elias in the central observatory. Stars glittered in the distance, and the soft hum of the fortress filled the room. "You continue to impress, human," she said. "Not with strength, but with cunning. You see possibilities we would not consider. You turn our own systems against those who would misuse them." Elias smiled faintly. "Your Majesty, I only use what I know. Humans survive by thinking beyond rules, beyond predictability." "It seems the same may apply to your people." Lyra's expression softened. "You are unlike any human I have observed. Perhaps that is why you succeed where others fail." Their collaboration became a source of tension for the Obsidian Circle. They had underestimated Elias, seeing him as a simple human pawn. Yet his ability to understand Xyrathi technology, anticipate their moves, and act decisively began to shake their confidence. The Queen, once cautious and calculating, began to trust him implicitly. Together, they became a formidable force, a combination of human ingenuity and Xyrathi authority. The turning point came when the Obsidian Circle attempted a bold strike. They infiltrated a research station on the edge of Xyrathi space, planning to steal experimental technology that could destabilize entire star systems. The operation was precise, nearly flawless, but Elias had anticipated it. Using a combination of surveillance data, energy signatures, and psychological insight, he predicted their movements. He coordinated a response with the Queen's loyalists, setting traps and creating controlled diversions. When the Obsidian operatives arrived, they found themselves surrounded, their plans unraveling at every turn. The confrontation was swift but intense. Energy blasts lit the void outside the station, and the skilled maneuvers of both human and Xyrathi forces prevented any casualties among the defenders. By the time the dust settled, the Obsidian Circle was exposed, their leaders captured, and their threat neutralized, for now. Lyra observed the operation from the command center, her expression unreadable. When it was over, she turned to Elias. "You have done more than I expected. Not only have you defended our alliance, you have demonstrated that humans can shape outcomes even in ways we did not anticipate." Elias bowed slightly. "I only do what must be done. Peace is not given, it is earned, and it must be defended at every turn." The Queen nodded, a rare smile touching her lips. "Perhaps humans are more capable than we believed. You have proven that." Yet even as the immediate threat faded, both knew the galaxy was far from safe. The Obsidian Circle's defeat would not end the tension. They would regroup, adapt, and continue to test the boundaries of the Alliance. And beyond that, other factions, unknown to either humans or Xyrathi, lurked in the shadows, waiting for opportunities to exploit weakness. Elias did not falter. He had learned to embrace unpredictability, to see challenges as opportunities. With the Queen's authority and the resources of Xalaris at his disposal, he began preparing for the next phase, strengthening the alliance, building trust among skeptical Xyrathi, and ensuring that peace was not merely a temporary pause, but a lasting foundation for both species. In quiet moments, he and Lyra would stand together in the observatory, gazing at the stars. The human's mind, once underestimated, had begun to demonstrate a power that went beyond physical strength or weaponry. It was the power to anticipate, adapt, and inspire. "Do you ever worry, Elias," Lyra asked one evening, "that the galaxy may be too vast, too chaotic for even your abilities?" He looked out at the endless stars, calm and resolute. "No, the galaxy is vast, yes, but chaos is not a weakness, it is an opportunity. We can shape it if we act wisely, and together we can make peace last." The Queen studied him, realizing that she had underestimated the depth of human potential. This alliance, born of necessity, was evolving into something far greater. She saw the spark in Elias, not just a mind capable of strategy, but a force capable of changing the course of history. As the stars shimmered above, both human and Xyrathi understood the truth. The shadows of war were never fully gone, but with ingenuity, courage, and collaboration, even the darkest threats could be faced, and perhaps overcome. And so, their journey continued, with challenges ahead that would test their alliance, their resolve, and the extraordinary potential of a human standing beside an alien queen. The galaxy had just begun to breathe a fragile sigh of relief after the defeat of the Obsidian Circle. Xalaris shimmered in the void, a beacon of order and authority, yet the Queen and Elias both knew the peace they had forged was tentative. There were forces beyond their control, distant and unseen, capable of turning calm into chaos in an instant. It began with reports from the edges of Xyrathi space. Strange ships, unlike any design the Queen had ever encountered, were moving silently through the void. They left no traces on conventional sensors, and their technology was unlike anything documented in Xyrathi records. Colonies reported disappearances, stations and settlements vanishing without warning. Panic began to ripple through the outer systems. Lyra summoned Elias to the central command chamber, a vast space filled with holographic projections of star systems, energy flows, and fleet movements. "Elias," she said, her voice steady but tinged with concern, "these intruders, they are not human nor Xyrathi. Their technology is unlike anything we have faced. Entire colonies vanish before we can respond." Elias studied the data carefully. His mind, trained to see patterns in chaos, began to trace subtle irregularities in the movements of the unknown fleet. They are organized, but they are predictable in their unpredictability. Their attacks follow a rhythm, but one that they assume we cannot see. Lyra raised an eyebrow. And what do you propose? Your people have experience with unpredictability. Perhaps your insight can guide us. Elias nodded. We cannot fight them alone. We must unite humans, Xyrathi loyalists, and any allies willing to join. And we must act before they strike again. Timing, coordination, and flexibility will be our greatest weapons. Over the next weeks, Elias worked tirelessly. He communicated with human colonies, rallying fleets and coordinating strategies. Simultaneously, he worked with Xyrathi commanders, teaching them to adapt, to improvise, and to trust the instincts that humans often relied upon. The task was enormous. Many were skeptical, but his calm confidence inspired trust. One night, while reviewing fleet projections, Lyra approached him. The glow of distant stars reflected in her eyes. You are doing more than saving colonies, Elias. You are teaching my people something profound. Elias looked at her, serious yet steady. It is not about teaching, Your Majesty. It is about showing that cooperation, courage, and creativity can achieve what strength alone cannot. The first encounter with the mysterious fleet tested everything. The unknown ships attacked a remote supply convoy, striking with precision and speed. Human and Xyrathi forces responded immediately, but conventional tactics failed. Fleets were forced to retreat, energy shields strained, and communication channels overloaded. Elias acted decisively. He ordered the fleets to split, feigning retreat in one sector while concentrating forces in another. Using unconventional maneuvers and deceptive signals, he baited the attackers into ambush points he had prepared. The battle was fierce. Energy beams streaked across space, shields flared, and ships spun through zero gravity like glowing predators. Yet Elias' plan unfolded with astonishing precision. The unknown fleet, confident in their superiority, found themselves outmaneuvered at every turn. One by one, they were forced to retreat, though not without leaving devastation behind. When the battle ended, the fleets regrouped. Casualties had been minimized and colonies were saved, but the scale of the threat was now undeniable. These were not ordinary raiders. They were a formidable force, highly intelligent and relentlessly determined. Lyra approached Elias on the command bridge, her expression a mixture of awe and concern. You have done what no Xyrathi commander could have imagined. Entire fleets maneuvered as one, yet your strategies were unpredictable, effective, and precise. Elias allowed a small smile. I only combine what humans do naturally with the resources we have. Adaptation is power, Your Majesty. Creativity is power. And courage inspires strength beyond measure. Word of his victories spread quickly. Humans, Xyrathi loyalists, and even neutral systems began to see him not just as a diplomat, but as a unifying force. His ability to inspire cooperation and trust across species was unmatched. Where armies and fleets once moved with caution, now they moved with purpose, their confidence bolstered by his guidance. Yet Elias knew that his role was more than strategy. The mysterious fleet, while defeated, was still out there. They would return, stronger and smarter. To protect the galaxy, he needed more than tactical victories. He needed unity, vision, and the willingness to take risks that others feared. One evening, as the Queen and Elias stood together overlooking a holographic projection of the galaxy, she spoke quietly. Elias, you have shown power beyond what I expected. Not weapons, not fleets. Your mind, your insight, your decisions shape events across the stars. Tell me, do you feel the weight of this responsibility? Elias gazed at the projection, noting the flickering signals of colonies and fleets. I do. Every choice has consequences. Every action changes the future. But responsibility does not scare me. It guides me, and I will act as long as I breathe. Lyra studied him, her expression softening. She had seen leaders before, humans and Xyrathi alike, who relied on force or fear. Elia's relied on understanding, foresight, and courage, a combination that could truly reshape the galaxy. The next test came when the unknown fleet struck a human Xyrathi border world. The colony was under siege, and conventional defense would not hold. Elias orchestrated a multi-pronged response. Human engineers adapted Xyrathi weapons in real time, creating energy traps and diversion fields. Xyrathi pilots, guided by human intuition, executed maneuvers that seemed impossible. Elias coordinated every move, remaining calm amidst chaos. His strategy relied on deception, quick thinking, and the ability to inspire trust in those around him. The result was a stunning victory. The colony was saved, the enemy repelled, and morale soared across human and Xyrathi forces alike. After the battle, Lyra approached him once more, her violet eyes reflecting the starlight. "Elias, I underestimated the potential of your species. Not all humans are like you, but you have shown that ingenuity, courage, and vision can rival the strength of fleets and empires." Elias shook his head slightly. "I am not extraordinary, Your Majesty. I only act. Humans survive by finding solutions, by taking risks when necessary, by trusting each other. This is our power." The Queen studied him, understanding at last that true power was not measured by weapons or armies, but by the ability to think, to inspire, and to act decisively when the stakes were highest. Elias embodied that power. In the weeks that followed, alliances shifted. Neutral systems, impressed by the humans' leadership, pledged support to the human Xyrathi coalition. Colonies rebuilt, fleets expanded, and the Queen's authority strengthened, not merely through fear or tradition, but through the recognition that humans and Xyrathi together could achieve greatness. Elias spent long nights in the observatory, analyzing data, planning defenses, and preparing for the inevitable return of the unknown fleet. The stars stretched endlessly before him, a reminder of both the challenge and the opportunity that lay ahead. Lyra joined him quietly one night. She did not speak immediately, letting the silence stretch. Finally, she said, "Elias, you have not only saved lives, you have changed the way my people think. They see hope, adaptability, and courage in a human mind. You have shaken the stars themselves, not with force but with vision." Elias looked at her, humbled but resolute. "I only do what must be done. The galaxy is vast and unpredictable. If we act wisely with courage and cooperation, we can meet any challenge. That is the true power, the power within us, not just the ships or weapons." Lyra nodded, understanding fully now. The human beside her was not merely a diplomat or strategist. He was a force of change, capable of uniting species, inspiring trust, and confronting threats that no single civilization could face alone. And as the unknown fleet loomed somewhere in the distant darkness, Elias and the Queen prepared together. Their alliance, tested and strengthened by deception, strategy, and courage, was ready for whatever the galaxy would throw at them next. The stars stretched endlessly before them, but Elias no longer felt small. He had discovered the true extent of his power, not in strength alone, but in his mind, his choices, and his ability to inspire others to act beyond their limits. And the galaxy, vast and waiting, was about to witness the extraordinary force of a human standing beside an alien queen. The galaxy held its breath. After months of preparation, anticipation, and relentless strategy, the time had come to confront the rogue fleet that had threatened countless colonies. The unknown force, silent and deadly, had returned, larger and more organized than ever. Ships moved like shadows across the void, their energy signatures unfamiliar, yet terrifyingly precise. Elias Kale stood on the command bridge of Zalaris, surrounded by Xyrathi commanders, human fleet leaders, and representatives from allied systems. Holographic projections of the enemy fleet hovered above them, showing hundreds of ships advancing in a formation unlike any known strategy. Lyra Zyrathi, the queen, approached him. Her violet eyes shone with intensity, a mixture of trust, awe, and resolve. Elias, the entire galaxy watches us. Every decision you make now will ripple across worlds. Are you prepared? Elias nodded, his calm confidence steady. I have prepared, not for victory alone, but for survival, for peace, and for unity. This fleet may be powerful, but they have never faced what happens when humans and Zyrathi fight together, with trust and courage. The fleet gathered, sensors active and communication channels open. Allies from dozens of star systems awaited Elias' commands. Despite the sheer scale of the threat, there was no fear among them, only determination inspired by his leadership. As the battle began, the rogue fleet attacked with blinding speed, energy blasts tearing through the void, targeting human and Zyrathi ships alike. Initial defenses faltered, as the fleet's tactics were unlike anything the commanders had encountered. Panic threatened to rise, but Elias remained calm. Divide and confuse, he commanded, voice steady over the comm channels. Use unconventional formations. Let them think they understand us, then strike where they least expect it. Zyrathi warships shifted, forming decoys, while human pilots executed daring maneuvers around asteroid fields and energy streams. Fleets that had once operated independently now moved as one, anticipating each other's actions in a dance of strategy and improvisation. The battle raged for hours. Energy beams lit up the darkness, shields flared, and ships twisted through the void in impossible trajectories. Elias' mind worked tirelessly, predicting enemy movements, adapting strategies on the fly, and inspiring courage among the Allied forces. Each decision was precise, yet flexible, allowing for adaptation and improvisation. Lyra watched from the command bridge, silent yet intensely focused. She had faced countless battles, led entire fleets, and survived wars that spanned decades. Yet never had she witnessed a commander, human or Zyrathi, who could command such coordination under pressure, combining logic, intuition, and vision with unmatched skill. At a critical moment, the rogue fleet attempted a concentrated strike on the central supply convoy, hoping to cripple the coalition's logistics. Elias saw the maneuver before anyone else. He deployed a small fleet as a diversion, guiding them into a hidden gravitational anomaly that disoriented the attackers. Meanwhile, the main fleet, following Elias' instructions, launched a coordinated counterattack, striking the enemy from multiple angles. The result was spectacular. The rogue fleet faltered, their precise formations unraveling under the unexpected tactics. Ships collided, energy signatures flared, and their advantage crumbled. For the first time, the unknown attackers hesitated, a pause that Elias immediately exploited. "Now, strike together," he commanded. Allied forces surged forward, targeting weak points and disabling enemy command ships. One by one, the rogue vessels were destroyed or forced to retreat, the remnants fleeing into the void from which they came. When the battle ended, silence filled the command bridge. The victory was complete, but the scale of the conflict was staggering. Hundreds of ships had been lost, yet colonies were saved, and the threat that had loomed over the galaxy was finally neutralized. Lyra turned to Elias, her expression both proud and awed. "Elias Kale, you have done what no one thought possible. You have united species, commanded fleets, and defeated an enemy greater than we ever imagined." Elias shook his head slightly, humility in his posture. "It was not me alone, Your Majesty. Every ship, every pilot, every commander contributed. Humans and Zyrathi together, we made this possible." The Queen nodded, understanding fully. She had relied on her own strategies for centuries, yet this human had shown her a different kind of strength, the power of creativity, courage, and collaboration. In the aftermath of the battle, Elias worked tirelessly to stabilize the affected regions. Human and Xyrathi fleets patrolled vulnerable sectors, rebuilding communications and assisting colonies that had been threatened. Diplomats negotiated treaties with neutral systems, solidifying alliances that would ensure lasting peace. Lyra observed him quietly, often standing beside him as he coordinated operations. She had initially seen him as a tool, a means to achieve political stability, but now she realized that his impact went far beyond that. Elia's presence inspired hope, courage, and determination across species. One evening, in the quiet of the observatory, Lyra approached him. The stars stretched endlessly before them, a reminder of both the vastness of space and the responsibilities they carried. Elias, you have done more than secure peace. You have changed the way my people see the galaxy and even ourselves. Humans are capable of extraordinary things, and so are you. Elias looked at her, a faint smile on his face. I do not seek praise, Your Majesty. I only act, but I am honored that our efforts have brought hope and unity. That is all that matters. Lyra studied him, her eyes reflecting both admiration and realization. Perhaps the galaxy is ready for a new era, one where humans are not merely observers but shapers of destiny. And you are the catalyst. The days that followed were filled with reconstruction, diplomacy, and celebration. Colonies that had once lived in fear now flourished under the protection of the human Xyrathi coalition. Trade routes reopened, scientific research resumed, and cultural exchanges between species deepened understanding and respect. Elias continued to serve as the bridge between humans and Xyrathi, his leadership earning him trust across species. He advised Lyra on matters of strategy, diplomacy, and ethics, always emphasizing collaboration over domination, understanding over fear. One day, as Elias walked through the central plaza of Xelaris, he observed Xyrathi citizens and human visitors interacting freely. Children played under floating gardens, merchants traded exotic goods, and scholars debated openly. The city, once a fortress of control, had transformed into a symbol of unity, resilience, and possibility. Lyra joined him, standing silently as they watched the scene unfold. It seems peace can be beautiful, she said softly. Elias nodded. It is more than beautiful. It is proof of what can be achieved when species work together, when courage, creativity, and understanding guide action. The Queen's eyes shone with a mixture of pride and recognition. And you, human, have proven that potential alone is not enough. It is the choices we make, the risks we take, and the courage we show that truly shape the stars. Elias looked up at the distant stars, the countless worlds awaiting exploration and discovery. Then we will continue to act, Your Majesty, together, humanity and Xyrathi side by side. There is more to achieve, more to protect, and more to build. Lyra placed a hand on his shoulder, a gesture of both respect and partnership. Yes, together, the galaxy will remember this era, not for war, but for hope, unity, and the extraordinary potential of a human standing beside an alien queen. And so, a new dawn rose among the stars. The human ambassador and the Xyrathi queen, bound by duty, respect, and shared purpose, had reshaped the galaxy. Through courage, ingenuity, and collaboration, they had turned chaos into opportunity, fear into hope, and potential into reality. The rogue fleet had been defeated, the colonies saved, and the fragile peace had been solidified. Yet the true victory lay not in the battles, but in the bonds forged between species, the trust earned through action, and the recognition that the power to shape destiny lay not in weapons or fleets, but in the minds, hearts, and choices of those willing to act for the greater good. Elias Kale had proven that humanity was capable of greatness, that even a single human, guided by courage, intelligence, and vision, could change the course of history. Lyra had learned that strength alone was not enough, and that alliances built on understanding and respect could achieve what force never could. As they stood together, gazing out at the infinite expanse of stars, both understood that this was only the beginning. The galaxy was vast, unpredictable, and full of challenges yet to come. But with trust, courage, and ingenuity, they could meet any threat, overcome any obstacle, and shape a future brighter than any civilization had ever known. The stars shimmered with possibility, and for the first time in countless cycles, the galaxy felt united, hopeful, and alive. And the human who had once been underestimated stood beside the alien queen, a symbol of the extraordinary potential that could exist when courage, creativity, and cooperation guided the choices of those willing to act. The new dawn had arrived, and it was only the beginning of a story that would echo across the stars for generations to come.